Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to create this login and register Android application. There are many more login and registration application tutorial in my YouTube channel. But in this tutorial we are going to create this application as fast as we can and with a different layout. And also I will not be taking up too much of data from the user to save it in the database. So let's quickly get into the coding part. Open your Android Studio. Just click on create new project, and then from the available option you can choose empty activity. Then give a suitable name to your application. If you want, you can change the package name as well. And then just click on finish. Let your application start up. Alright, now we have this main activity. Then I'll just start with the layout for the main activity, and I will keep the tab to split so that I can write the code on the left side and then see the changes which is happening in the layout on the right side. Alright, then let's start by changing this constraint layout to scroll view. And then I'll just add one property here, that is Android background, and then under this I'll type add drawable / bg. Bg is for the background, and for this property to work we'll have to copy the bg image file into the drawable folder. So I'll just click on this resource folder on the left panel, and then I'll just right click on this drawable folder and then choose show in Explorer. Alright, then I will copy all the images that I'm going to use in this project, and I'll keep all these images in the Google Drive, and I'll keep the link in the description of this video so you can directly download all these images and keep in your drawable folder. Then let's get back to our Android Studio, and then you can see that we have the background in our main activity. Then coming inside the scroll view, I'll create a linear layout. Then let the layout width be match parent and the layout height be wrap content. Then let's set the orientation property to vertical. Alright. Then I'll just delete this text view. And then getting inside the linear layout, I'll create a new text view. Let the layout width be match parent and the layout height be wrap content. Then we will have to specify one ID for this text view. So just write add plus ID, because this is how we define a new ID. Then / text view underscore app underscore name, because I'll just use this text view to display the name of the app. Then Android :text. Within this you can write the name of the application that you want to be displayed on the main activity. Then Android text color. This will change the color of the text. So for that I'll just write add color / white. Then after that I'll select text appearance property, and then here I'll just choose this headline property. Alright, then I'll align this text in the center. For that I have to select text alignment property, and then I'll give the value as center. Then finally I'll define layout margin top, let it be 50 dp, and then we can just close this text view. Alright, then let's define one image view. Let the layout width be wrap content as well as the height be wrap content. And then we will have to define one ID. So add plus id / image view underscore logo, because I'm going to display the logo using this image view. Then after that, we'll have to define the source of this image. So let it be at drawable / IC underscore logo underscore round underscore blue. You can choose any other logo that you have. Then after that, I will define the max width property so that I can limit the maximum width of this logo to 100 dp. And then we have to define one more property, that is adjust view bounds, and let the value be true. Now the logo is looking very small, so I'll just increase the max width property. Let's make it to 180. Alright, then let's define the margin on the top. Let it be 75 dp. Then let's define layout gravity property as center to center align the logo. Alright, then let's just close this image view tag, and just below it I'll create a new relative layout. Let the width be match parent and height as wrap content. Then let's define the background property at drawable / border, and it is showing an error because as of now we don't have any border XML file in our drawable folder, so which means we will have to define one border file. So I'll just right click on this drawable folder and then new, and then select drawable resource file. Then the name of this file has to be border, and then the root element should be shape. Then just click on OK. Then the border.xml file will be open. So let me define a border. So I will start with the background color. So write solid, then Android color #FFF, or you can write it 6 times. This is the code for the white color. Then after that, I'll define the border color, then stroke, Android width 1 dp, and Android color #A 6 times. This is the hex code for gray color, so the border will be of gray color. Then let me define round corners. So corners space Android radius, and let the value be 10 dp. If you want to make the corners more rounded, then you can increase this value from 10 to 20. Alright, let's get back to the layout of the main activity, and now there is no error in this line because the border file is available in the drawable folder now. And let's just close the relative layout here. Then getting inside this relative layout, I'll just create a text view quickly. Width as match parent, height as wrap content. Then I'll just define one ID. Then after that, let me display some text here. Alright, let's align this text in the center. And after that, I'll just use text appearance property to give it some predefined text formattings. If you want, you can just check all these options one by one and see which one you think looks the best in your layout. So I'll just select menu. Alright, then I'll add some margin on the top. Let's say 100 dp. Now I want this relative layout to be overlapped by the logo as I have shown you in the beginning of this tutorial. So I want this logo to overlap this relative layout. So for that, I will just get into the relative layout and I will add one property here, that is layout margin start. Let it be 30 dp. Then layout margin end. Let this be also 30 dp. Then finally I will add margin top and give it a value in minus so that it gets overlapped by the logo image. So let's give 80 dp here, but still the logo is getting behind the relative layout, so we have to bring it in the front. Then let's get back into the image view tag and let's just add one property here, that is elevation, and let's give it an elevation of 10 dp. That's going to bring the logo in the front of the relative layout. Alright, Anyways, then getting below the text view, create one edit text. This edit text will be used to take email from the user. So I'll just define layout width as match parent and the layout height as wrap content. Then we will have to specify one ID for this edit text also. Then we have to define one hint text for this edit text. Alright, let the background be at drawable/border, and we have already defined this border file. Then after that, we have to use layout below property to position this edit text below the text view. Alright, then let's add some margin on the top. Then let's define margin start, which is going to add the margin at the start of this element, which means at the left side of the element. Then in the same way, we will define margin end. Alright, then let's add some padding in this edit text. And then we will have to specify the type of input that this edit text can accept. So we will use input type property and the value as text email address. Alright, then we can just simply copy this entire edit text and paste it and then make the relevant changes so that the second edit text can take password as the input from the user. So I'll just quickly make the changes here. I'll change ID, the layout below property. And also I'll just decrease this margin top. Then we have to change the input type and this one should be text password. Alright, and we have to change the hint text also. Yeah, it's fine now. Then finally we can display one small eye icon next to the password edit text, which can be used to show or hide password. So just get below the edit text and create a new image view. Let the width and height be 33 dp. Then we will have to define one ID for this because we are going to use this ID to change the eye icon according to the visibility of the password, and we are going to do that programmatically using Java. Anyways, then get below it and define layout below property and layout it below the edit text for email. Alright, then margin top 10 dp. Then define layout align parent right and make it as true. Alright, then finally we have to define the source of this image view. So just write at drawable, then choose this IC height password. Alright, and the icon is getting out of the edit text, so I'll just define one margin end property and let's make it 25 dp. Now it is aligned properly. So for now, I'll just delete this source property because I'm going to assign the source programmatically from Java. And here I wrote the source just to see the layout, whether it's looking fine or not. And since it's looking good, so I can just remove this source and then get below it. And I'll just define a button to log in. Then below the button, I'll just define one text view. Let the width as match parent, height be wrap content. Then we have to define one ID for this. let's say text view register, and let this text view be below the login button. And I'll just write not a user yet. Let the alignment be in the center. And then I'll just add some margin on the top. Let it be 20 dp. Let's copy this text view and paste it again. Now in the ID, I'll just change this to text view link register, and I'll change the layout below property to text view register, because I want this text view to be below the text view which has the ID text view register, and I'll make this text view as a link to open the register activity. Alright, then let's change the text for this text view. Let's say sign up now. Alright, and then we can change the text color for this text view. So I'll just write add color / dark blue, and it's showing an error because no such color has been defined in the color XML file within the values folder. So let's just do that. We'll quickly define one color. Under this resource folder, scroll to values folder, and under this values folder we have a file as colors.xml. Open it up, and here we will just quickly define few colors like red, dark green, light gray, orange, light orange, and dark blue. I'm defining these colors to match the layout of the theme that we are creating. You can define other colors, that's totally up to you. Now coming back to the layout file of the main activity, I'll just finally define a progress bar. So the layout width and height have to be wrap content. Let's give it an ID, progress bar. And then layout center horizontal, true. Then layout center vertical, true. And then finally we have to define the style property for this one. So just write !, Android :ATTR / progress, and then you can use your up and down arrow keys to select progress bar style large. Alright, then finally we have to define the elevation property for this progress bar. Let's make it 10 dp so that this progress bar is above the other elements. And at the beginning we want the progress bar to be gone or not visible. We will make it visible only when there is some processing happening in the background, and we will take care of that programmatically in the Java. So I'll just define the visibility property and make it as gone. Alright, and then finally I'll just make some changes in the color of the elements in this theme. So for that I'll just open the themes folder which is under the values folder, and then just open themes.xml. Now the color primary is purple 500. I'll change it and I'll make it to light orange, and I have already defined these colors before, so I can just directly reference them. Then color primary variant to orange. Color on primary, let it be white. Now opening our layout file, you can see that the color of the button has changed. Now it is orange colored. Let's run the app and see it in the emulator how the layout is looking so far. Alright, button is there, the link is there, edit text are working as well, but the buttons are not working. It's okay, we'll take care of them in Java. Anyways, then let's get into the Java file for our main activity. And we will start by defining the variables. So just above the onCreate method, let's start with the edit text. So I'll just write private edit text, then space, then the name of the edit text variables. So I'll just name them in a way so that you can understand what these edit text variables are for. So I'll just write edit text login email, comma edit text login password. Then below that, I'll define one progress bar. Alright. Then getting inside the onCreate method, first of all, I'll set the title for the activity. So for that, just write get support action bar dot set title. Then within brackets, within double quote, write login. So this will set the text login in the action bar of this activity. Alright. Then edit text login email equals find view by ID, because first of all we have to link the view of the edit text which was defined for email with this variable so that we can obtain the email which was entered by the user. Then under bracket just write r.id.editText_login_email. If you have defined any other ID for the edit text that we had defined for taking the login email of the user in the layout file, then you can kindly use the same ID here as well, because both of these IDs have to match. In the same way, I'll find the ID of the login password edit text. Alright, then finally we can find the view of the progress bar also. Then I'll just call one method, show hide password. It's not defined yet, so I'll just define it now. You can click on this create method, show hide password in main activity. Alright, this method will be used to show and hide the password using the eye icon. So let's begin by defining one image view variable. Let's say image view show hide password. And then I'll just bound the view of the eye icon that we had defined in the layout with this variable. Alright. Then using this variable, I'll set the image source of the image view in the layout file. So just write image view show hide password dot set image resource. Then within brackets r.drawable.ic show password. Now this will set the image resource for the image view element in the layout file. Then image view show hide password dot set on click listener. We will define a new on click listener on this show hide password image. Now coming under the on click method, first of all we have to check whether the password is visible or not. If the password is visible, then we will hide it as well as change the eye icon. So we have to check whether the password is visible or not. So for that, just write if, then within bracket edit text login password. which is the variable for the edit text, which is going to hold the actual password being entered by the user. Then dot get transformation method, then dot equals, then within bracket hide returns transformation method dot get instance. So basically we are just checking whether our password is visible or not. If our password is visible, then we will make it hidden. So for that I'll just write edit text login password dot set transformation method, then within bracket password transformation method dot get instance. Alright, so this will make our password hidden. Then after that we have to change the eye icon also. Now to change the eye icon, just write image view show hide password, then dot set image resource, then within bracket r dot drawable dot ic show password. Then in the else part we have to hide the password. So it means if the password is visible, then the if part will be executed. If the password is hidden, then the else part is going to execute it. If the else part is being executed, that means we have to show the password and then change the eye icon accordingly. So I'll just write edit text login password dot set transformation method, then within the bracket hide returns transformation method dot get instance. Then in the next line, image view show hide password dot set image resource, then within bracket r dot drawable dot ic hide password. Alright, let's run the app now. And let me enter password. And on clicking on the eye icon, password is getting visible and the icon is also changing. So that means our show hide password method is working perfectly fine. Alright, then let's register a user, and to register the user we have to open the register activity. Since we are still working in the main activity, we cannot register the user from here. So I'm going to declare and define one text view which will act as a link to open the register activity. So let me just define one text view. So let's say text view register equals find view by id r.id.textView underscore link underscore register. Then text view register dot set on click listener. We are going to set a on click listener on this text view so that when the user taps on this text view, the register activity can be opened up. Now inside the on click method, I'm going to start a new intent. So let's give a name to this intent as register activity equals new intent. Then within bracket main activity dot this comma register activity dot class. And it's going to show error because we have not created any register activity till now. But don't worry about that. We are going to create the register activity right after this. Then getting on the second line, just start the activity. So within the bracket register activity, since that is the name of the intent. Alright, then let me just copy the name of the activity. Alright, then right click on your package name, then new, and then activity, and then finally click on empty activity. Then under the activity name, I'm going to paste the same name that I have mentioned in the intent, that is register activity. We can just click on finish. Alright, now coming back to the main activity, you can observe that the error has gone away. So we can start with the register activity now. So let's just open the layout for the register activity first. Alright, then let me change this constant layout to scroll view. And then add Android background, add drawable /bg. Then getting inside it, let's define one linear layout and layout width to match parent, then layout height to wrap content, and the orientation is going to be vertical. Alright, then getting inside the linear layout, I'll start by creating a text view. Let the width be match parent and layout height be wrap content. Then let's define text property, and I'll just say sign up now. Alright, then let's define text appearance property. At style / text appearance dot app compat dot headline. Alright, then text alignment, let it be center. Then we have to change the color of the text to white, so I'll just define text color property. Alright, then let's add some margin on the top. Alright, then we can just close this text view and create a new relative layout. Under this relative layout, I'm going to create the edit text to take the input from the user. Let's define the background at drawable / border. We have already defined border XML file, so we can just directly use it. Then let's set up some of the margins. Let's say margin start be 30 dp, margin end also 30 dp, then margin top 50 dp, and then we can have a overall padding as 15 dp. Alright, and then we can just open the layout of main activity, and we can copy the edit text which we have defined for taking email as the input. So I'll just copy this entire edit text, and I'll open the register activity layout file again, and I'll just paste it inside this relative layout. Alright, and let's paste it once again. So I'll paste it 3 times in total. The first one is for the register name. So I'll just change the ID. That is, we have to take the name of the user. And I'll just get rid of this layout below property, since this edit text is the first element under the relative layout. And I'll change the input type to text person name. Alright, then in the second edit text, I'll just change the ID to register email. Alright, and here we have to change the layout below property also, and here we have to use edit text register name, because we want this edit text which is for the email to be below the edit text which is for the name. Alright, and I'll just reduce the margin top property. Alright, then finally we have the last edit text which is for the password, so I'll just make the changes accordingly. Alright, now all the edit text are lined up properly. Now we can open the layout file of the main activity once again, and this time I'll copy the login button. Alright, coming back to the layout of the register activity, I'll just paste the button below the edit text for password, and I'll change the layout below property first so that we can align it properly. Then I'll have to change the ID, and I'll make it button register. Alright, change the text also, it should be register or sign up. Alright, now we need to add the progress bar. So for that also we can just open the layout of the main activity and copy the progress bar from there. Alright, and then we can just paste it in the layout of the register activity, and we don't have to change anything here. And I think the only thing left is the eye icon which we want next to the password edit text, which can be used to hide or show password. So let's open the layout of the main activity once again, and this time I'll just copy the image view which is below the edit text for password. Just copy this image view. Alright, return back to the register activity, and then just below the edit text which is for password, we can paste the image view. Alright, and then we have to change this layout below property. We have to make it edit text register email. Alright, the eye icon is aligned up properly. Then let's start the app once again and see how are the things going in the app. So we have this sign up now link. If we click on it, the register activity is opening up. Alright, alright. So we can get into the RegisterActivity.java now. And I'll start by defining the edit text for email, name as well as the password. Alright, then we have to define the progress bar. Then I'll just get inside the onCreate method and we'll start by defining the title for this activity. So for that, just type get support action bar dot set title. Then you can define any text that you want. I'll just type sign up. Alright. Then let's define one method to find all the views that we need to find in this activity. I'm doing this just to make the activity more readable. So instead of finding all the views here inside the onCreate method, I'm defining one separate method where we can find all the views. Anyways, it's totally up to you. So just hover over it and then click on create method, find views in register activity. And this method is not returning any value, that's why it has a type void. Alright, then I'm going to find the views one by one. Let's start with the register email. So find view by id within bracket r.id.edit text register email. Then let's find for the password. Then for name. And then finally for the progress bar. Alright, after we are done with finding the views, we can define the show hide password method. So I'll just call the method after find views method. So just type show hide password and hover over it and click on create method. Alright, and since we have already defined this method in the main activity, I'll just open the main activity and copy the content of this method. Just make sure to see where this method is starting and ending and copy everything which is within inside the method. Alright, copy it, come back to the register activity and then just paste it. And now we have to change the name of the edit text variables. So this one has to be edit text register password. Alright, in the second one also, this is edit text register password. And here as well. Alright, so far we have found all the views and then we have declared the show hide password. Now we need to define the register button. So just define a button register. Then find the view r.id.button register. Then we have to set a on-click listener on the button so that when this register button is clicked, we can check the values which have been filled in by the user in the respective edit text, and if the values are verified, then we can start the registration process of the user. So just get inside the onClick method, declare string variable for email, and under this string variable we are going to extract and save the email that has been entered by the user in the edit text for register email. So to get the text, just type edit text register email, which is the edit text variable corresponding to the edit text for email in the layout of the register activity. Then dot get text, then dot to string to convert it into string. In the same way, I'll define the string variable for password as well as name. Alright, now we have to check if the user has entered all these three values before we can start with the registration process. So I'll just verify if these three variables are not empty. And then also we'll have to check if the email provided by the user is a valid email, and we will have to check if the password contains at least more than 6 digits. So I'll start with the name variable and I'll check if it is empty or not. So for that, just type if within bracket text utils dot is empty. Then within bracket text name, and this text utils is simply a set of utility functions to do operations on string objects. So using text utils, we are simply checking whether this variable is empty or not. If this variable is empty, then we are going to display one toast message reminding the user to enter the name before clicking on register button. After displaying the toast message, we can just show error in the edit text for name. So just type edit text register name dot set error, and then you can enter the text that you want to be displayed. And then finally we have to request focus on this edit text for the error to be visible. Then after this if statement closes, add else if. Now we are going to check if the text email variable is empty or not. And we will do the same with this variable also. If the email has not been entered by the user, we will display toast message, and then we will display error in the edit text for email. Alright. Then add another else if. Now this time we are going to check if the email entered by the user is a valid email or not. We will use regular expression, and we'll just use patterns method. So just type patterns dot email address. So it will get the pattern of the email address. Then dot matcher, this is going to match with the text that we are going to enter within the bracket, and in the bracket we have text email which contains the email address entered by the user, and then finally dot matches. So in simple word, this condition is going to check if the email address entered by the user matches the regular expression of email address or not, which means we are simply checking if the email address entered by the user is a valid email or not. We are not verifying it here. We are not sending any verification link to the user from this condition. We are just checking the validity of the pattern of the email address. And you can observe we have added this exclamation mark at the beginning, which is going to negate the entire condition. So this else if will be true in case the email address entered by the user is not a valid email. Only in that case this else if will run. And here also we are going to show one toast message and then display error. Then finally we can check the password also. And to check the password, I'll just copy the if statement where we are checking for the name. Then I'll just make the necessary changes here. Then let me copy this one also. I'll paste it once again. Then after that we can check the length of the password, and it should not be less than 6. And then we will have to change the toast message here. Alright, and then finally we can start the progress bar, which means if the control is coming to this final else part, then none of the else if or the if statement are true, which means all the conditions are false, which means the user has entered name, email, password, and the password has a length of more than 6 digit, and the email is also a valid email. In that case, we can simply register the user. And to register the user, I'm going to define one register user method. So before calling the register user method, I'll just start the progress bar. Then after that, I'll just call the register user method, and in this method, I'll pass the email, name and password of the user. Alright, then hover over this method, click on create register user, and then select the second option that is under register activity and not within the onCreate method. Alright, then let's get inside the register user method, and now before starting with this method, we have to open Firebase and we have to connect our app with Firebase. So just click on tools in the menu bar, then scroll to Firebase, click on it, and the Firebase assistant is going to start. Here just click on authentication and then click on any of the options, since we are not setting up the authentication using any of these methods, but we just want to connect our app with Firebase and we want to add the required dependencies. So you can just click on any one of them or just click on authenticate using a custom authentication system. So the first step is to connect your app to Firebase. So just click on connect to Firebase, and the Firebase console is going to be opened in your default browser. Let it open up. Then you can click on add project in case you have not created a project. So just click on add project. Then you have to define one name for your project. Then after that, just enable Google Analytics for this project and continue. Then you have to configure Google Analytics. So choose or create a default analytics account. So let's say default account for Firebase, and then create project. So this is going to create project in Firebase and your new project is ready. Just click on continue. Now your Firebase Android app has been created in Firebase. So we can just connect it. So click on connect, and your Android Studio project is connected to your Firebase Android app, and you can now use Firebase in your project. So we can just go back to Android Studio. Now we have completed the first step, that is we have connected our app to Firebase. Now we have to add the Firebase Authentication SDK to our app before we can start using Firebase. So just click on this add the Firebase Authentication SDK and then click on accept changes. Alright, dependencies set up correctly. So we can minimize this Firebase assistant now. And now let's define one more global variable, private Firebase auth. This is Firebase authentication variable, and let's just call it auth. Alright, then coming inside the registered user method, let's use the Firebase authentication variable. So auth equals Firebase auth dot get instance. So this auth variable will get the current instance of the Firebase authentication. Then auth dot create user with email and password, since we are going to create user using email and password. Then this method takes two parameters. First one is the email and second is the password, and they should be non-null. If either of them are null, then we will get Firebase exceptions. And that is why before calling the registered user method, we have checked whether the email and password are null or not. Alright, then dot add on complete listener, because we want some logic to happen or take place only after the user has been created successfully. Then within brackets register activity dot this comma new space on complete listener. Just hit enter. Autocomplete is going to add the onComplete method. Alright, then coming inside the onComplete method, we have to add one semicolon at the end of create user with email password method. That's why it's showing one error. So I'll just add one semicolon here. Then after that, I'll just get rid of this at org.jetbrains.annotation.notnull. Now we have to check if the user was created successfully or not. So let's begin with the if statement, and within the bracket we will check if the task was successful or not. And we don't have to define this task variable. This onComplete method already has a parameter as task. So this is the same task variable that we are using here. So if the task was successful, then we will get the current user or the currently logged in user, which is in fact the user we have just now created. So Firebase user space Firebase user, or you can give any other name that you want, equals auth.get current user. Alright, then if within brackets Firebase user is not null, then that means the user was successfully created and the Firebase user variable will not be null. In that case, we can update the Firebase user object. So we will start with the display name or the name of the user. So write user profile change request profile updates equals new user profile change request dot builder dot set display name, and here we will pass the text variable which contains the name of the user, then dot build. Now this request is used to update user profile information, and we can update the display name or the name of the user, as well as we can update the photo of the user using this request. And since we are not taking any photograph from the user, so I'll not update that. And then finally Firebase user dot update profile, and then within bracket profile updates. Profile updates is the instance that we have created for user profile change request. Alright, then we can display one toast message that the registration was successful. And after that we will have to open the user profile activity. So I will just create one intent here, user profile activity equals new intent register activity dot this comma user profile activity dot class, and then we will have to stop the user from going back to the register activity on pressing back button. So I'm going to set some flags with this intent so that if the user presses back button in the user profile activity, we are not returned back to the register activity. So user profile activity dot set flags intent dot flag activity clear top intent dot flag activity new task and intent dot flag activity clear task. So either we can set flags in different lines using set flags method, or we can set all the flags at once, just the way I have done it. Then we can finally start the activity, user profile activity, and then we can finish the current activity. And also let me change the first letter of the intent. It should be lowercase. And this completes the if part where we were checking if the task was successful or not. So just check where your brackets are ending. We are going to add one else part, and here we have to handle the exceptions in case the task was not successful. So I'll just use try and catch blocks. So write try open brackets throw task dot get exception. This is going to get the exception that occurred in the task. Then coming outside of the bracket, catch exception E. Then within brackets, toast dot make text. registerActivity.this, e.getMessage. E is the instance of the exception that has occurred. So we are just displaying the exact exception that has occurred. Then toast.length short.show. And then coming out of this catch block, I'll just make the progress bar to be gone. Alright. And then finally we have to create this user profile activity before we can launch our app. So I'll just create a new activity. Let it be empty activity. And the name of the activity should be user profile activity. Then finish. Alright. Then coming back to the register activity, there's no error now. And before moving any further, let's run the app and see what we have now. Sometimes this also happens with our Android Studio, that one of the process gets blocked by the antivirus. So we have to allow it. We have to allow the app. Then run the app once again. And this time I'll try to register in the app. So I'll enter my details. Let's sign up. An internal error has occurred. Configuration not found. Now this error has occurred because even though we have connected the Firebase to our app, we have not configured Firebase from the Firebase console to accept email and password as a way of registration. So I'll just open console.firebase.google, then click on your application. Alright, we have to open authentication. Then click on get started. Alright, then under the sign in methods, we have sign in providers. Here we have to open this email password and we have to enable it, then save. Alright, now we can return back to our app and try to register once again. And you can see that the registration is successful now. Even the user profile activity has opened up. We have not created the activity, so that's why it's blank. And if we come back to our Firebase console and under the authentication, if we click on users, we have a new user here and you can see the details like the user creation date as well as the last signed in, and we have the user ID as well. Alright, so let's return back to Android Studio. So let's just open our main activity. Now that we have a working mechanism for registering a user, we have to see if we can log in into the app using the same credential. So I'll just get into the main activity and I will define login button first of all. So right after we defined the link to open register activity, I'll define login button. And then bind the view with the button. Then we just have to import the class in case you're getting error. Alright, then button login.set onClick listener. We have to set a onClick listener on this button. Then under the onClick method, just like in the registration part, before we can register a user, we were checking if the username, email as well as password was available or not. In the same way, before we can log in a user, we have to check if the user has entered its username and password or not. So under the onClick method, first of all, I'll create string variables to obtain email and password. Alright, then I have to use if statement just the way we have done in the registration part. So let's open register activity and we can just copy all the if else statement from here. Return back to the main activity and then right after obtaining the text and password, we can just paste it. Alright, now we have to make some changes here. I'll make it first of all signing in. And then we have to get rid of all the references that we have for name. Since while logging in, we are not taking name, we just need email ID and password. So I'll just get rid of this first if statement, and then we have to change this register activity to main activity. So I will just do it quickly. And then we can get rid of this else if part where we were checking if the length of the password is greater than 6 or not, since this is not a registration process. So first one is correct. We are checking whether the text email is empty or not. And then this method should be login user instead of register user. And then I'll just make the necessary changes in the edit text variables, because in this activity we have edit text login email and then login password. Alright, and also in the login user method we don't need text name, so I'll just get rid of it. And then finally we can create login user in main activity. Alright, then we will have to define Firebase auth variable globally. Alright, then using the same auth variable we can directly sign in the user. So just write auth.signin with email and password. Then the parameters are text email comma text password. Then we have to add one add-on complete listener. Alright, then finally add semicolon to the end of this statement, and then I'll just get rid of this at org jetbrains.annotations.not null. Alright, now we just have to check if the task was successful or not. If it was successful, we can display one toast message, and then we can just open up our user profile activity. I'll just do it quickly. And I'm not going to finish this activity since this is our main activity. So if we log out from the user profile activity, our main activity should be there to open up, since it is the gateway or it is the main activity. Then getting the else part, I'll use try and catch statements to catch the exception in case something happens while we are trying to log in. So we have seen this also, nothing much to explain here. Then just check where this else part is ending. After the else part, I'll just set the progress bar visibility to be gone, because in any case whether the task was successful or not, we have to stop the progress bar. And let's start the app now. So on our main activity, I'll just enter my credential and try to log in. Alright, the app is crashing, so I might have missed out something. Something is wrong at line 84, and line 84 is the line where we are signing in our user. Alright, I think I've got what is the problem here. Alright, before taking care of the error, under the add on complete listener, let's add the activity as main activity dot this comma, and then we have to get one instance of the Firebase auth, since we have declared the auth variable but we have not obtained any instance for it. So we can just do that. So before this login button is clicked, we have to get one instance of Firebase auth. So auth equals Firebase auth dot get instance. Now run the app. And login was successful. Alright. We can now start with the user profile activity. So just open the layout of the activity. I'll set the background drawable /bg. Then getting inside it, I'll just create one linear layout, and I'll try to do this part quickly because I have already explained much of the topic under layout part, so there's nothing new to explain. I'll just quickly do it. You can keep pausing the video and try to catch up. Then getting inside the linear layout, I'll just create one text view to display some text on the top. It will be the welcome text. Then after the text view, I will create a relative layout. Under this relative layout, I'll display the user's information. So just get inside and create another nested relative layout. The first nested relative layout is for the name, and I'm using nested relative layout because in this relative layout I'm going to use a small image icon, and then next to it I'll display the relevant information. Like in the first one, I'm going to display the name. Then we can just close this relative layout. And then create a view. Using this view, I'm going to add one divider or like a line. All right. Then we can copy this entire inner relative layout, which was created for name. We can just copy it and then we can paste it. And then we can make this relative layout for email. In the same way, if you are saving more of the information of the user, you can display them here. But since I'm only displaying the name and the email, so I'm going to display only those two. All right. Let's add some margin on the left and the right side also. And then finally we can copy one button from register activity. This button will be used for sign out. Alright, then below the button I will keep one text view which can be used to display some of the information of the user, like when was the user created. Alright, then let's copy the progress bar also. So that completes the layout part. Let's get into the Java. So first of all, I'll just define the text views that we are going to need. First one is the welcome. Then we have a text view for name, then email, and then for the registered date. Alright, and then we have to define one Firebase auth variable. And then finally we have to use a progress bar. So I'll just define progress bar also. And then getting inside the onCreate method, I'll just define one find views method. Under this method, I'll bind all the views with their respective variables. Alright, then let's define one method sign out. And let's create this method. Since it is not returning anything, it is also a void method. And then within the method, I'll just define the sign out button, because we need the sign out button to sign out the user. And then we have to set one on-click listener on this button. And when the user clicks on this button, we just want to sign out the user. Alright. And also before finding and binding the views, we have to initialize this auth variable. So I'll quickly do that. Alright. And then after the user has been signed out successfully, we can display one toast message. And then we can just close this user profile activity and return back to the main activity. And to prevent the user from going back to the user profile activity on pressing back button, I'm going to set the flags with the intent just the way we have done it in register activity. So I'll just quickly open register activity. and under the onComplete method we had set the flags with the intent. So I'll just copy those flags. Then coming inside the user profile activity, I'll just add those flags here, and then we can just start the activity. Alright, let's run the app. Let's log in. And the login was successful. Let's click on sign out. And the user is signed out. And if we click on back button, app is closing and the user profile activity is not opening up. So that is what I wanted. Now the next thing is to set up the text views in order to display the details or the data of the user. So first of all, we will define a Firebase user variable, and then using the auth variable, we will get the current user. Alright, then using if statement, I'll just check if the Firebase user is null or not. In case the Firebase user is not null, we can set the text views to display the data or the details of the user. So let's start with the progress bar. And I'll just call show user profile method. And I'll just pass Firebase user variable here. In the else part, in case the user is not available or user is null, we can just display one toast message. Now let's create the show user profile method. And we will start by obtaining the metadata of the user object. The metadata contains the user's registered date as well as the time. So since I want to display the registered date of the user, we have to use the metadata. So just write Firebase user metadata space metadata equals Firebase user dot get metadata. And then we have to get the register date of the user, and for that I will use long type variable. So just type long register timestamp equals metadata dot get creation timestamp. This will return the exact timestamp of the user creation. Then we have to define a pattern for the date. There are various different patterns available. So it's string date pattern equals capital E, comma, DD, space MMMM, space YYYY, space HH, colon MM, space A, space Z. So this will display the day, comma, the date with 2 digits, then month, then year, and then the time, which is 12-hour clock with AM or PM. And then finally the Z is for the time zone. Then just use simple date format space SDF equals new simple date format within bracket date pattern. Date pattern is the variable which is containing the string for the pattern that we have created or we have defined. Then SDF dot set time zone within bracket time zone dot get default. This will get the default time zone of your machine. Then string register equals SDF dot format within bracket new date. Then again another bracket register timestamp Alright, now we have to import date. Import the first one, which comes under java.utils, not the java.sql. Alright, then string register date equals get resources dot get string within bracket r dot string dot user since. Now user since is not a string as of now, and we are specifying it as a string which is under strings.xml, so we will have to define it. Anyways, just add comma space register. And then getting inside under values folder, we have this strings.xml. Just open it up. And then we'll just define one string. Name equals user underscore since. Then we can add any string that we want to be displayed along with the user creation date of the user. So I'll just write you are a registered user since colon then \n. This will create a new line space %1 $s. So actually we are using placeholder here, and %1 $s means this placeholder will be replaced or needs to be replaced by the string that we have defined in our Java, and S signifies it will be a string that will replace this placeholder. So whatever value the variable register is holding will be placed inside the placeholder which we have defined in the string user since. And then finally we can just set this text in the text view register date which we have defined earlier. Let's run the app now. And you can see we have this text view at the bottom. You are a registered user since. This was the text that we have defined, and then the date, day and time is the data which we obtained from the user object of the Firebase, and that %1 $s has been replaced by this data. I hope you're getting it now. Then after that, we have to set the text view for name and email. So I'll just define string name equals Firebase user dot get display name. Since we have saved the display name in the Firebase user object, so we can directly obtain it from the object. In the same way, I will obtain the email from the Firebase object. And then we can just set them in the text views. Alright, and also we can use placeholder to set the welcome message for the user. And here the welcome message will have the name of the user. Then we can just set the text view. And then we can make the progress bar gone. Alright, and let's log in into the app once again. And you can see in the welcome message it is showing the name of the user which is not hard coded, and then at the bottom we have the details of the register date of the user. Alright, let's click on back button and we are back to the main activity. Anyways, so this completes this video. I hope you enjoyed learning how to create an Android app with Firebase. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. If you want to learn more about Firebase and you want to save data into Firebase database, that is the Firebase real-time database, as well as save the images in the Firebase cloud, and you want to display those data into your app, then there's another video of mine where I have created app where I have used most of the features of the Firebase, and in that video I'm saving the data into the real-time database as well as saving the display picture of the user in the Firebase storage. So if you want to learn more, you can go through that playlist of mine. The link is in the description, and if you like the video, give a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.